2024 was a huge year for cozy games, and I ended up completing over 60 games in total. So, as we enter 2025, I thought this was the perfect time to talk about my best and my worst cozy games of 2024. Hello, cozy gamers! I'm Ellie, and welcome back to the Cozy Gaming Club, where we talk about all the latest and greatest cozy games. Now, before we get started, these are obviously my personal opinions, and you can disagree with them, and that is totally fine. In fact, I would love to see your best and worst cozy games of 2024, so just drop them down in the comments below, especially if you played something that I didn't play this year. So let's get started with a cozy cooking game that I was so excited for, especially as it had magic and witches and dragons. It was literally the perfect game for me, and I was so optimistic about it when it came out, but it just didn't quite hit the mark. If you haven't figured it out yet, this game is Magical Delicacy, and I'm putting it down as the 5th worst game I played this year. Now, this is definitely my personal opinion, and I know other creators like the lovely Nintendo and Peyton's Corner really enjoyed it. But for me, the cooking portion of the game was much smaller than I was expecting, and I found in the early game I was constantly out of money. I was buying so many ingredients from the various shops, yet not really making that much from sales, especially when I was wasting a ton of ingredients trying and failing to work out how to cook the dishes I wanted. Admittedly, you could sell your failures in the store using the window, but I don't believe you could leave the shop while doing that, so you just ended up stood around waiting for a while if you needed the money. Finding my way around the map was also incredibly difficult. I felt like the map could have been designed a bit better to show you the different pathways you can take. Also, the fact you had to pay money to add shops and places of interest onto the map felt a bit redundant, especially when you're already so short of money in the early game and you're sacrificing money that could be spent on ingredients for your recipes. In fact, by the time you could afford to buy the upgrade, you've already learned your way around. There's also the option to buy an upgrade that shows you where people are on the map, which I think is a little better, but it is still something that many games already have as a default. There also wasn't enough direction in this game for me either. It's not really clear how to continue the main storyline, and you get a huge variety of quests to cook different items, so it's hard to know which one to focus on with your already limited ingredients. Plus, I was also constantly limited on how many ingredients I could carry, and even after buying the storage for my house, I quickly filled that up too. When you've got to travel, and not just travel but platform across the entire map to buy more ingredients, I'd prefer to be able to stockpile all of them. I really wanted to enjoy this one, but the Metroidvania portion of the gameplay made it a bit too grueling an experience for me, and sadly, this is one I ended up not finishing. But I've heard there's been a lot of patches to improve the game, so I may enjoy it more if I had time to go back and play it again. Moving on to my 5th favourite game of the year, which was Minami Lane. This is a Japanese-inspired street builder filled with cats and tanukis, and it actually really surprised me. The aim of this game is to move through 5 levels, completing missions and optional goals that involve raising the street happiness, finding perfect recipes, and opening new stores. But don't worry, as none of the challenges are too difficult, and in fact I was able to complete them all first time in one playthrough. As your residents move into Minami Lane and explore the street you've built, they'll leave you feedback on how they think you can further improve it, whether that's changing a boba recipe or adding a new genre to your bookshop. Each generation of villagers will have a different preference though, so you'll have to make several shops to stock their favourite items. A lot of people call this a management sim, a very light management sim, but I actually think it's more of a puzzle game. It's kind of like a logic puzzle that you have to solve. Okay, they think there's too many noodles in this, and they don't like the teriyaki from this store, so then you've got to work out what they do like. That's not to detract from the game, because it is really well done, and honestly, I love it so much, even if it is a little on the short side. Plus, it is so cheap, and it's totally worth it for the 2 to 3 hours of gameplay. And the art style is so cute, and I love that you can change the colour and style of your buildings. On the other side, and it's another cooking game, is sushi restaurant management game Rolling Hills. In this game, you play as an adorable robot who dreams of being a sushi chef. You move to a small town with a goal of working in their restaurant, only to discover that the town is much smaller than you expected, and you'll essentially be starting from scratch. At the beginning, you only have 3 recipes and 2 tables, and over time you'll be able to expand your restaurant. Sadly, I realized quite quickly that despite saying make sushi in the title of the game, you don't actually make the sushi. You just press a button and it appears ready for you to deliver to your customers. I was a little disappointed in this aspect of the game, especially as you have no control over what sushi is delivered, which means you may need to press the button multiple times to get the dish you actually need, and there's a cooldown every time you do so. Despite that though, I never had any difficulty delivering sushi to my customers because the game is incredibly easy. Every wave of customers is easy to manage, and as I upgraded my meals and added new furniture to the restaurant to improve their patience, it just became even easier. The hardest part was actually giving the dish to the right customer when there were two people sitting at one table. There is a little more complexity added over time with customers falling asleep at their table or trying to take photos of your little sushi bot, which will stun you, but I never really found it difficult. The best part of the game is definitely the customization, both for your menu and your restaurant. By visiting the grocery store, you can buy new ingredients to add to your recipes that will give them an additional attribute, like making them more expensive or a higher quality. This lets you customize your menu a little to suit your playstyle, although when it comes to serving customers dishes of an incorrect quality or even flavor, I didn't find that affected the gameplay that much. As for your restaurant, you can buy furniture for decoration that does a similar thing, whether that's increasing patience, earning you more money, or increasing the amount of reputation you earn per customer. There are lots of different types of furniture, and most of them look cute, but sometimes you need to sacrifice making your restaurant look nice in favor of an item with better attributes, which is really sad. Outside of your restaurant, there's a small town with not much to do. There are 3 or so locations that you can actually enter, and a lot of locations with locked doors. There are also only a couple of townsfolk you can actually meaningfully chat to, and while hanging out with them does improve your friendship level and give you additional bonuses, it does feel a little lackluster. All you need to do is pay $100 every day to increase your relationship. Overall, I thought this game was a little empty and too easy, and it just got very repetitive quite quickly. If you're looking for something simple and relaxing though, then you might enjoy this one more than me. I love watching card opening videos on YouTube, and while I was never able to afford that hobby myself, when I saw you could do it in this game, I was instantly addicted. Just like Supermarket Simulator, in TCG Card Shop Simulator, you're running a store. You'll need to order items, stock shelves, check out customers, and will generally be in charge of all the daily runnings of your shop. But instead of stocking groceries, you'll be stocking card packs, plushies, dice, and other gaming memorabilia. You'll need to price them all to stay competitive, and over time you'll be able to unlock new stock or even expand your store for more space. In addition to selling items, you can also run events in the store where players come in to play cards against each other, which is just such a great idea, and I'm so glad the devs added it in. My favourite thing by far is opening all of the card packs and trying to pull an ultra rare card. But even when I'm not successful, seeing all the different creatures and the art on the cards is its own reward. I've pulled a couple of cards worth over £100, but I'm still waiting for a big one. I was instantly obsessed with this game, and I have played so many hours of it because it is the perfect mindless game to play after work in the evening. You know, when you're too tired and can't really concentrate on a plot or solve puzzles. That's when I head to my store to stock shelves. It also works perfectly on my Steam Deck, so I can just collapse on the couch or in bed and put in an hour's shift in my card shop. Moving into my top 3 for both is a game that I backed on Kickstarter, and I was kindly sponsored to make a video for it as well. Now, I played the heck out of Cozy Grove, and I've wanted something similar to that for a while. So this really appealed to me, and the art style for this game is beautiful. It looks just like a storybook, and I love all the different vegetables and fruits that you can meet in your garden, as well as the staple cast. Augustus is my favourite, and I love him so much, but they're all so cute, and I wanted all of them to join my garden, which you can do by completing their quests. The garden path also has a lot of unique mechanics that help it to stand out. I loved the idea of exploring my garden and documenting all of the plants I found, as well as collecting little clippings or resources, and I've actually started to recognise some of the plants and identify them in other games, which is really fun. Also, instead of using money to buy and sell things in this game, you actually trade the resources you've collected from your garden. So maintaining your garden and helping your plants grow also works in your best interest too. Whether you want to buy new clothing or furniture or new tools, all of them come at the price of items from your garden. Having said that though, one of the things I like the least about this game is how it doesn't really explain anything to you. It took me so long to realize that there were different tiers of resources, so some are more valuable than others, and then there's the constellations, the pigeonholes, and the tones are quite confusing as well. I would have liked more explanation around all of these aspects of the game. Bug catching as well is really confusing. I just wish there was more information about what you do. Also, just by playing the game, you end up collecting a lot of different items, from resources to trade, to pages and wish tags that you dig up from the ground. But the more items you have in your backpack, the slower you go, and I ended up going really slow towards the end of my playthrough. It's like it penalizes you for actually playing the game. I wanted to love this one so much because the vibe and the art were immaculate, but the gameplay and the lack of tutorials really let it down for me. Coming in as my third favourite game of the year is The Little Known Galaxy, which was kindly gifted to me by the developers, and when it first launched, I was obsessed. You play as a new captain in training who has just joined a space mission investigating a mysterious relic on a vacant grey planet. It's essentially Stardew Valley in space, and I quickly fell in love with a familiar formula of exploring to the deepest levels of the mines and trying to work out my crew's favourite gifts, all with a plot. One of the things that amazed me about Little Known Galaxy is that it's doing something different to other life and farming sims, and it's doing it incredibly well. They've truly embraced the space theme, from letting you visit multiple planets, a sentient computer to guide you, and letting you walk on the hull of your ship. Even the stock in the store is limited depending on where in the galaxy you are, and rather than a wide map, you need to take a lift to different floors of your spaceship. It hasn't been afraid to stray from typical farming sim mechanics either, and is infinitely better because of that. Because you're in space, there's no seasons to worry about, so none of your crops die with a new season, but you do need to create planters for each new crop as there isn't soil for you to plant into. One of the biggest selling points for me in this game is that there is no time pressure. Yes, the days are maybe a little on the short side, but none of the plot points have a time schedule to adhere to, and there are no seasons to worry about. You can play at your own pace and just spend your days doing whatever you want to do. Also, there is so much diversity in this game, from a range of ages to genders and even disabilities, like one character being in a wheelchair and another having a prosthetic leg. Next is another game that I had high hopes for that sadly didn't stick the landing. Chilltown is described as a soothing simulation and idle game and has often been compared to Animal Crossing in playstyle. But sadly, it doesn't quite reach the lofty levels of Animal Crossing, and I don't think it played enough on its unique features to stand out either. The Animal Crossing similarities stem from starting over on an island where you can build and design a town of your own. Find townsfolk by visiting other islands and invite them to come back with you, where you can build them a home and decorate it for them. But the villagers all look quite scary compared to Animal Crossing's cute animal characters, and the islands you set out to explore are very barren and empty. Even the decorating needs quite a bit of work. Then there are the unique pals, which is a fun Pokemon-like element that has been added to the game. Pals will randomly spawn on your and the adjoining islands, and you can catch them and they'll follow you around. You can also apparently evolve them, although I didn't reach that far into the gameplay. My main issue with the pals is that they don't really do much, which makes them a bit redundant. So they can follow you around, but only one can follow you around at a time. And you can also get pets to follow you around instead. You can also plant them in a garden or put them in the scary and clinical PAL center, which I did not want to do because I'd feel awful leaving anyone here, but I don't know what else you can do with them. As you can tell, I didn't really enjoy the 5 or 6 hours I played of this game, and I also encountered quite a few bugs. But Chilltown is in early access, so this could have all changed since I played it at launch, but I have not been back for reasons stated above. My second favourite game of the year has to be Duck Detective: The Secret Salami. Duck Detective is a classic noir mystery about a freshly divorced duck who's struggling to stay afloat as a private detective. Join Eugene McQuack as he heads on his newest case to investigate the salami bandit and the missing lunch, by using your powers of deduction to inspect evidence, fill in the blanks, and burst the case wide open in a narrative mystery adventure where nothing is quite as it seems. Duck Detective: The Secret Salami is a light-hearted, humorous mystery game, and considering how cheap this game is, at only £8.50 at full price, I was beyond impressed by how great it was. It's fully voice acted, there are a slew of puns for you to enjoy, and the puzzle-solving mechanic was really innovative as well. It reminded me a lot of The Case of the Golden Idol, but the plot was much lighter and funnier than that game. It took me around 2 to 3 hours to complete this quacking case, and while some of the puzzles are a little tricky, they're not overly hard, and if you do get stuck, it won't be for long. The great news is that they're going to be releasing a new game this year, so if you do enjoy this one, then there's a sequel to look forward to. And this final game feels like it should be an early access game, but it's not. And it's one of the few games where I've actually regretted spending money on it. The premise of this game is right up my street. It's a farming game where you play as a witch, and I really thought I was going to be obsessed with this. The beginning started really well with a good storyline about how you've been laid off from your job, but you don't want to admit it to your mum, and then you're in a cafe mulling over your life choices when you're offered the opportunity of a lifetime. You know, typical cozy game stuff. So you take over the farm in town, you learn how to cook, and you meet some of the NPCs, including an adorable capybara that I love. Things start to go downhill after that though, because then the game goes completely hands off. There's no real guidance on what to do or how to collect the items you need. Some of the players have pointed out that there's an abundance of guides you can follow and that the Discord community is helpful, but I feel like if you have to keep checking your phone in order to play a game, then no? Making money was also incredibly difficult, and I felt like I was grafting so hard, growing so many plants and getting nothing for it. There was one aspect of the game that I did like though, and that was the cooking. I thought that the cooking minigame was really fun, and I liked physically being able to chop up my items. It's very similar to the cooking in Fruit Bus. But I didn't like how even though there's a recipe, you don't really have to follow it. It seemed a bit redundant that you could just put anything in your cauldron in any order and there were no consequences. I will say that the art style is really cute. I love the design of all the characters, and while I didn't do much decorating, there seemed to be a wide range of furniture. For me, I really need a game with a plot that I can follow along with. I'm not the sort of person who will just vibe and befriend all the characters, and that sadly means that God and Witch Life isn't a game for me. But it may be the game for you. And now it is finally time to talk about my game of the year, and that is Fields of Mystria. Are you surprised? Is anyone surprised? No, probably not. I am going to try and rein myself in and not talk endlessly about how much I love this game. Because I could talk endlessly about it. I love farming sims. I'm sure you know that if you've spent any time around my channel. I try to play them all, but it's been a while since one grabbed me as quickly as this one did. From the first day, I was hooked. It is not just the cute pixel art style, although I am a sucker for pixel art, but I also love the NPCs and the plot and the little bit of magic that there is in the game so far. It really just felt like it combined some of the best parts of other farming sims, and since it's in early access, hopefully it'll only get better in the future. The NPCs are really the standout part of this game for me. They're all so cute for starters, and I really can't choose who I want to romance. I've befriended most of them to 3 or 4 hearts, and I'm just waiting for more content to be released. The best bit by far, though, is Friday nights at the inn, where the entire community comes together to play games, drink wine, and chat with one another. This is one of my absolute favourite parts of the game, and it's so wholesome. I never miss a Friday night at the inn, and I love watching the plot develop every week and finding out the next part of the story. While there isn't much magic in the game yet either, I really like the magic that has been added thus far. From fully restoring my health and stamina when I'm deep in the mines to watering my entire farm at once, or even growing plants instantly. The magic really makes things in the game easier, although it is limited so as to not completely break the game. If I had a few bugbears, it would be that it's hard to make money. Every new thing you need to build and unlock for the main plot is so expensive, and I think that subtracts a little from enjoying the other parts of the game that cost money, like raising cattle, which is also really cool because you can breed them to unlock new colours and put cute hats on them. The festivals could also use a little bit of work. So far there are only 2 festivals for you to experience, and one of them is basically just a reskin of the Saturday markets. I'd like to see more festivals in a game akin to some of the festivals in Coral Island, Stardew Valley, or Over Magica, and less like Fae Farm. Either way, this was my game of the year, and I love it so much, and I can't wait to play more as more updates come through 2025. Those are my best and worst of cozy games for 2024, and if you want to find out more about any of the cozy games I played last year, I do have a playlist of monthly game reviews that I put together. Or here is a screenshot of all of the games I played last year, ranked. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to drop your best and worst of 2024 down below, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!